Good evening and welcome to the Jay Duke Show, streaming live on 5 channels worldwide this evening. Thank you for watching on Facebook at Equivault, the Jay Duke page, Jumping Instructors, and Dressage Instructors, as well as on YouTube at the Jay Duke channel. I'd like to thank my producers, Laura Kellen May and Randy Thompson from the Jumping Instructors Network, for making this happen each and every Monday evening. This episode of the Jay Duke Show is presented by theequivault.com. The largest online resource of show jumping lessons in the world, with guest lessons from stars of the sport such as BZ Madden, Bernie Traurig, Malene Bayard, Ann Krasinski, and many more. With training modules from perfecting lead changes to gymnastics to coursework, theequivault.com is the perfect accessory to your training program. Check it out at www.theequivault.com. My special guest tonight is international show jumping rider Derek Braun. He is the founder and president of the innovative and groundbreaking Split Rock Jumping Tour. Derek has spent virtually his entire life in the sport of show jumping, starting at the age of 7 and shortly thereafter becoming one of the nation's premier junior jumper riders by garnering gold medals in the USET Talent Search Equitation Finals, the National Jumper Championships, and the Prix d'Estates of the Pennsylvania National Horse Show. As a professional rider, he has earned numerous Grand Prix victories and placings at our nation's most prestigious tournaments, international competitions, and has represented the United States equestrian team. Welcome, Derek Braun.
Hey, Jay, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm so excited about this show tonight. We've got a lot to discuss, and you are the perfect person to have on here. Let's start off with you as a rider, briefly.
Okay.
You're a rider. What's the favorite show that you've ever competed at, or one that you wish you could compete at anywhere in the world?
Well, favorite show I've ever competed at or gone to, that's kind of putting me on the spot, since I run horse shows, but your typical best horse shows in the world obviously are the ones that I envy the most, whether I've competed at them or not, or aspire to always compete at them. Shows like Geneva, which is, I think, probably the consensus rule of thumb best show around the world. They don't have to do anything over the top or in particular to even be the best. I think it's just agreed upon that everything's done in the perfect way for our sport. So that, for me, that would be probably overall the best show in the world, and one as a manager to strive to manage and create something similar, I guess.
Yeah, Geneva, one of the Rolex Grand Slam Tour events, and that's an amazing show. Unfortunately, I have not competed that show either. That kind of
I haven't either. I mean, I've competed at Spruce Meadows, which is obviously other people's sometimes favorite, but very, very different type venue, type atmosphere. So, it's just a matter of preference. Aachen, Geneva.
Yeah, Aachen's okay. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's talk about the Split Rock Jumping Tour. How did that come about as an idea for you? When did you start to come up with the thought, hey, I'm going to run a tour of top horse shows around North America at different locales? It's a very ambitious business plan. How'd you come up with that?
Yeah, honestly, it really stemmed from not being satisfied with existing American horse shows. Honestly, that's not to put down any other horse shows or horse show managers out there that are working just as hard as I am. Just really 10 years ago, about me just being not satisfied with the product, feeling like I could put on a better product, a more organized product, and just a different product than the existing big box type horse shows. That was my goal. I started about 9-10 years ago at my old farm here in Lexington, just running small one-day local jumper shows about once a month, just to kind of get my feet wet, get a feel for managing horse shows, seeing what people liked and didn't like, what kind of customer service people liked, and what kind of details that needed to go into what my bigger plan and my bigger picture was. So that's kind of how it started a while back. Probably the idea started somewhere about 10, 12 years ago. And, anybody that knows me knows that I kind of go full steam ahead regardless of what it is. So it's been a long time, a long process. We're now in our 6th year of the actual Split Rock Jumping Tour, and it's really grown exactly like I thought it would. We're in our 6th year, and this year on the calendar we had 8 events. Unfortunately, 3 of those, 2 had to be canceled because of the pandemic, and 1 postponed. But hopefully we can continue on with the rest of our events for the rest of the year and have a big year.
Well, I want to thank you as a horse guy for you running these shows, because they really are, they're well done. They're first class. As a rider and competitor, everyone feels very special. And it's great to see such a top quality product putting out there. So I think I can say thank you from the North American Horse Show riders to you for all of your efforts with that. Let's talk about the Lexington International coming up. So on June 17th to 21st, this is going to be the first FEI show in the world since the pandemic shutdown. This is brave of you, because everyone's going to be watching. They're going to be saying, seeing how you run this, how it goes, all the new protocols in place. So you're really stepping out, and bravo to you. And I wish you the best of luck with it. Can you tell us what's it going to be like? What preparation wise, what have you had to do differently than all the countless hours of preparation you normally would to make this happen?
Well, I mean, I think just like any other horse show organizer, I'm sure they're going to do everything in their power to make it the best they can. I think my horse shows are really unique in the way that they're actually really set up strategically really well for something to handle something like this. They're not 1,000, 1,500, 800 horse type horse show with hunters and jumpers and a mix of all different arenas and everything going on at the same time. My horse show is intended to be really detail focused and oriented. My entire team is prepared to handle and roll with all the changes of these little details, just like all the details change from venue to venue that we go to. So we're really equipped well to just plug and play these new procedures and guidelines that have been set for us. It's obviously our duty to represent horse shows and represent everybody well and make sure everybody can compete in a safe and productive manner at the same time. My staff now 6 years in, they've been with me from the beginning, and honestly, I think they're the best team out there to accomplish this in a safe and productive manner, which I think is the most important thing. Like I said, we only have about 400 horses. We're really setting a limit at that number. It's only 2 arenas here in June at the Kentucky Horse Park. There literally is not a better facility in America, I don't think, to start this off, maybe visually on a global outlook, because the horse park in general, if there's any flaw about the horse park, which I don't think it's a flaw, if there is, it's very spread out. So the stabling is super spread out. We can put a grouping of stalls, because they're all shed row outdoor barns, grouping of stalls in between each stable and each barn. We have use of the entire facility. So there's so many different things. We're going to use one arena in the Hunter Complex called the Claiborne Ring, and another ring with the Walnut Ring, which is a good hundreds of yards away. So, nobody's going to be really crossing paths too much. Everybody's going to be spread out. We're really equipped on the technology side as well to handle everybody's usual questions and flow of a horse show. I implement a back-end system of my own in partnership with Equestrian Digital ED. They helped design this entire app and website that I think is really revolutionary in the way competitors and exhibitors interact with the horse show. So that's going to come into play. Yeah. And honestly, we haven't made any further changes to it than the things that it was already capable of doing. So we're always improving it, and this just happened to be just happened to work perfect, and always to try to make things more organized and more efficient. So this show in June, I'm excited about at the horse park. We are completely sold out. We have about a 50 horse wait list. As of right now, we're still about a month out. So we're really excited. We have a ton of FEI horses and some of the best caliber riders in America. So I'm really excited about the competition. But yeah, like you said, it's gonna be a new normal. It's gonna look a little different, and we're prepared. And I think as an organizing committee, we want to thrive on that kind of pressure. We want other events to look towards us to be able to feel comfortable that it's possible to accomplish.
So the stable. So when you come in as a stable, you're gonna be separated from people from another farm. So that's what you're saying there. So there won't be like,
Well,
your stall won't be beside a stall from a horse from Florida type of thing. There will be separation there. And then how is it going to look?
A group of stalls.
Yeah. And how is it going to look like at the office and at the concessions? Is it like the grocery store where there's markers and that sort of thing? Is that, have you had to set that up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, everything's going to look a little different. So the food service is provided by the Kentucky Horse Park already. So they're going to have to proceed just like they would with state guidelines and everything. People are not going to be able to stand within 6 feet of each other in line. Everything's going to have to be not necessarily cooked to order, but mostly grab and go, prepackaged foods and everything like that. We're obviously definitely not going to have any VIP area where people can congregate in groups of 10 or more. We've actually been talking about all different things of laying out our main arena, because inherently you're going to have people standing around the arena watching or this or that. We're probably going to, one of my team members had an idea to, paint little circles. I don't know if you've seen online where, there's like guideline circles. So a group could be in one area, a group could be in another area. And then we're going to have all of our stewards and everybody and my entire staff policing it, because, I mean, in the end, we have to really take this seriously. Same thing in the stabling area. I mean, especially being one of the first horse shows out of the box, out of the gate, so to speak. I mean, we're going to be really strict on everybody wearing masks, everybody wearing gloves at the wash rack, so 2 people aren't touching the same hose at the same time. We're going to have plenty of ample disposable gloves on hand for people in these different areas, to, hand sanitizers in every area, every place you look, around every corner. So we're really prepared for all the mass quantity stuff that's going to be going on. But luckily, like I said, the horse park's so spread out that it's not going to be these huge groups of people in one place.
With the masks, so you're looking at your employees wearing masks, I assume. What about for competitors? Is that going to be a required thing to have masks on it sometimes or all the time, or how's that working?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be pretty strict on it. I'm going to require everybody to wear masks at all times if they're not on a horse. If they hop off a horse, they have to put a mask on. It's going to be that simple. Honestly, even if they're with their own groups, I would say that I'm going to still be policing it a bit and make sure everybody's doing their part, because, it's our responsibility to do that. And we don't want to mess it up for everybody else coming after us. I still have 6 other events this year. Everybody else has other horse shows going on in different locations. If one horse show doesn't do it properly and isn't prepared or equipped to enforce these strategically, then it really can mess up the entire industry for everybody. We need horse shows right now. Everybody that does show jumping at any level needs to go and compete and progress and continue on with what they love to do and their livelihoods.
I'm going to make an assumption here and assume there's no spectators that are allowed. What about when it comes to family? Are family going to be allowed on the show grounds and come to watch the competition? And then are they going to be spread out in the seating? Or, we've seen, say, NASCAR started up and soccer started up and there's nobody in the stands at all. How's that going to work as far as spectating?
Well, there's absolutely no spectators. And if you're not affiliated with a group, you're absolutely not going to be allowed on the property to watch this event for sure. Absolutely, within reason, if a daughter comes with their parents or, things like that, family members are obviously going to be allowed. Grooms are going to be allowed and their team members, but it's going to be really restricted. So just no outside public. Everybody that's already within their own groups that are connected to each other, I think it's kind of impossible, I think, to withhold that kind of, those tight-knit groups from each other. But definitely the public is not going to be allowed. And I actually chose to hold our main Grand Prix arena in what's called the Claiborne Arena, which is actually quite a big arena that's used for hunters at some of the other events. I chose this because I don't want to encourage any of the public just thinking they could come or people can go sit in the stands. So if I were to use the Rolex Stadium, which is obviously prepped for spectators and mass quantities of people, that
Right.
I wanted to just avoid that altogether. We're literally not going to provide any seating for anybody around the arena. I mean, it's still going to look like all Split Rock events do. It's going to be, huge signage for our sponsors, flags all around, the atmosphere with huge scoreboards, and everything is going to be just the same like all of our other events, just no spectators.
And is this, for people coming back to horse shows around the country, is this what people can expect from it? Like, is this coming from the USET Federation, or is this your personal plan to deal with this, or where are you getting the guidelines from?
Definitely getting guidelines from local and state officials. We're still not allowed. We're still not allowed to have people congregate in groups larger than 10 in one space. So it's definitely coming from the state, and it's coming from USEF, absolutely. But it's even just coming from my team and our responsibility. I can't speak for other horse shows and how they're going to do it. I can't speak whether they're going to still try to have VIP areas or some sort of fashion of spread out tables or spectators even spread out. I don't think that that's appropriate in this time. I think everybody needs reassurance. And like I said before, we don't want to be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution. So all those kind of things for the foreseeable future, at least through the end probably of 2020, I'm going to err on the side of caution and continue to make sure that the competition aspect is the focus now, and and people can still produce their business and do their business and compete at a high level. And the other stuff is just people are gonna have to be okay with everything else taking a backseat.
Yeah, and there's so much that goes into running a horse show. I don't even know how you do it. It's amazing. And now with this, I mean, distancing the judges from the announcer, and I mean, there's all these different little elements to it. So I wish you the best of luck with that, and certainly I think you're the right person to have as the forerunner in this venture, and the world is going to be watching. Let's talk about the mileage rule in the United States, and not about
You want to go there?
I do not. It's a hot button topic, and of course we're going to go there. It's a Jay Duke show, so
okay.
I want to discuss specifically about the mileage rule this year, not long term or anything like that, but just specifically with this situation as far as some horse shows needing to be canceled. There's been a lot of talk about, should the mileage rule be dropped? Should it be altered in order to allow some of the smaller shows to be able to run that were, say, scheduled in April and May? What can you tell us, and what, from your opinion as a show organizer, what should be done with the mileage rule?
Yeah, like you said, this is like such a major hot button question. I play both sides, right? Like I'm a rider first and foremost, and now I'm mainly a horse show manager. So I can understand both sides. I think there's a big misconception, and I'm not speaking for USCF or horse show managers or riders. I'm just speaking my own opinion. I think there's a big misconception about the mileage rule. I think a lot of the people fighting about the mileage rule I see on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, blogs. I read all the comments and everything because I just educate everybody's opinion. I think that's my job as a horse show organizer. And there's a lot of misconceptions about the mileage rule. People just think it's creating not free market or free business. And that's actually not the case. It's completely not the case. I do think that USCF comes at it from a very objective and strategic way of saying why shows should go when and where. It's not just, no, you're not allowed to go 250 miles out from this show because they have a monopoly. It's not that at all. And I can't stress enough that if people are going to argue about this rule on Facebook, that they really read the rules. They really read the fine print of why the mileage rule exists. And I'm not going to get into why it exists because that's not my position. But I do think that there is legitimacy to it. And let me tell you, as a horse show organizer, if anybody should be against the mileage rule, it's me. Not these other horse shows that have priority dates and everything. It's me. I have, from the very beginning, my very first show in 2015, I've applied for almost every single one a mileage exemption because, my shows are so different, and And the chances of me finding a date, just like everybody else, within a certain mileage restriction of somebody else is near impossible. There's a reason why there's like no dates available, because, in the end, it is a good business. But I will say I have put in the extra amount of work. I have filed the mileage exemption. I feel like my team and I have created a product that is different enough and good for the sport. And it's a product that people want to attend, and they appreciate the detail going into these events and the venues and the strategic ability of putting that whole back end together. It's a huge production. And I think USCF, when I file those mileage exemptions, sees that process, and they know that maybe the product that we're presenting to everybody out there is helping grow the sport. And I think that that's the biggest thing. When we're, I think you just froze. Can you see me?
No, we got
that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that USCF is just trying to juggle is what events are beneficial in progressing our sport forward, and what events are maybe just doing it just because they want to. But the problem with that is that, a lot of these other events, they're in general, some places, only Florida, is there enough to go around in every region? There really just isn't enough. And I can attest to that, let's say in Ohio. My Ohio show in Columbus, the past couple of years, I'm not going to say what event, but there's been an unrated event that goes on down the road, so to speak. And it's honestly, in some fashion, when you lose 50 to 100 horses because an unrated show is going down the road just because they want to, and they're holding divisions that are rated divisions but not rated, it affects the managers that have really tried to do it the right way and really tried to, the thing about my shows is I want all my classes to count for everybody, for something, to be special. And that's the problem with unrated shows, is that I think there is a place for them. I'm not saying they shouldn't be there, but for them to compete directly against, let's say, a bigger horse show where they're paying the fees, they're paying the expensive fees to the federation, so people can get points, so horses can have a show record and have something to show for everything. There's really something to say about that. You don't see on the ATP tennis tour an unrated tennis tournament down the road where professionals can just say, oh, I can go compete cheaper down the road. That's not the sport we live in, Unfortunately, it's hard for people to hear that if you want to compete at a certain level, in any level, it's going to cost some kind of money. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it costs us managers more money just to operate within the regulations of this and that. And that's not USCF's fault. That's not FEI's fault. People complain about the fees that have to go to FEI. That's just the nature of doing business. And for me, I try to produce a sport that's for the high performance. So I want people to be able to strive to starting at a low level. I have 0.85 meter classes at my show, and there's no nomination fee that go with that. I try to make it as affordable as I can for that level if they want to compete with this caliber of a horse show. And it's just like anything else, So mileage rule is definitely a sore subject for everybody and every manager. Some managers want ultimate protection. I have never denied a show that comes up and calls me and says, just last week, 3 different venues called me on a mileage conflict because of this pandemic situation, said, I think there's plenty of business to go around for everybody. Do you mind if I increase my prize money? Do you mind if I hold a brand new show just to capitalize on this? And I said, that's your business. If USCF thinks it's for the betterment of the sport and there's enough to go around, who am I to say no?
Yeah, well, that is the right answer. That is a big topic for sure. We could definitely address. Maybe at a later time we'll have you back on the show and address that in more detail.
I do think that. I just want to say quickly, I think USCF gets a lot of slack for the mileage rule, and I think there's so many misconceptions about it that I really encourage people that if they're questioning of just say, let's get rid of the mileage rule. I guarantee you it's not that simple. It's really difficult to run a rated horse show successfully in a model that can continue on for the long term. And the people that do try to do that aren't just here to come and go, deserve protection, and they deserve to, compete against somebody that's providing a real product. So I do think USCF is doing a really good job of picking through what should be and what shouldn't be. And in the end, that's their job. And I totally agree at the present time with their concept of the mileage rule, because they are allowing some shows, other shows out there to alter and change and be flexible. They're not just, being utterly strict. They're doing it really strategically. So
let's talk about the long-term outlook of horse shows in America. The Palm Beach Masters for 2021 is gone. It was just recently announced Longines Global Champions Tour is not going to run this year in 2020. What is your thoughts as far as, obviously we talked about the short term and everyone's aware of what's happening now as far as there's been some cancellations and then the shows are looking like they're going to start up again. What do you see as far as next year, as far as 5 years down the road? How is this, in this terrible pandemic situation that the entire world is in, how is that going to affect the horse shows in North America?
There might be like split decision on this topic too, because I really think over the past couple of years, there have been way too many shows. I truly believe that. I think it's been completely diluted. 8 years ago, there weren't enough shows. Now there, a year ago, 2 years ago, there've been way too many shows. It seems like everybody that could just put on a show, put on a show. And they just wanted to, whether it to be to host certain people or this or that. And so much work goes into putting on a horse show. There's literally, like, the best way I can explain it is, if a horse show is 1 week and it's 5 days long, Wednesday through Sunday, it's like producing an event, planning a wedding 3 times a day for 5 days straight, and one group of people organizing it. That's how much goes into one of our shows anyway. And I know some other shows out there too. So, it's not easy to just put on a show. And when all these other shows out there are they come and they go. And this is, I believe, truly not something that had to happen, but I think that the horse show climate over the next few years is going to be drastically changing. There's not going to be 3 5-star events worldwide every single week for people to go choose where they want to go and compete at the highest level. A lot of these shows that were in there, so to speak, probably just to do it, they might rethink that now, and they may not continue to do it in the future, whether it be for personal reasons, financial reasons, or just cutting their losses. They might not just want to continue it anymore. So I think the horse show climate is going to definitely change in the near future. I think for the next few years, there's definitely not going to be as many horse shows, definitely not as many one-off horse shows going on, because of what it takes to just put on 1 week. I think that's why nobody's ever done a model like mine in America. Global Champions Tour has done it worldwide and to amazing success. And it's really complicated to mobilize and go to another venue and go here and there. So these one-off events have to do the same thing. They have to put together a team for just once a year, and it's really hard. So it might be a time where a lot of these events just say, you know what, we're going to take a step back, look at our priorities, see what we really need to focus on, whether it be whatever their other businesses are or their other lives or personal lives, and call it quits. And I think we're seeing that a little bit now. I cannot speak for Palm Beach Masters. That's obviously was a tremendous event in Wellington. I mean, what an incredible caliber of riders and production that they put on. And it's really unfortunate for the sport that they had to make that decision. But they're not going to be the only ones that have to make that tough decision. That, there's just other more important things, I think, hitting to focus on than producing a horse show just because. And that's hard for me. So like a horse show like that, I cannot speak for them, or even other events, that have had to cancel or whatnot. Even there's an event in Europe, Madrid, that canceled even in at the end of the year and in Europe. And you know, the biggest difference between some events and like my events or other management groups like a hits or something that, this is my livelihood now. This is my business. We live and breathe this week in and week out. This is my office here. My entire team's here from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 6 people full time, planning these events all the time. And I think that those groups that are really equipped full time, prepared to run many events all over, I think they'll withstand this traumatic financial burden and hopefully push through it so people have something to look forward to and go. And I think you're seeing that now with what events are being able to happen. And that's very obvious. There's probably 4 or 5 groups that I can think of that are only going to run horse shows this summer. And it's just as simple as that.
I think what immediately comes to mind for me is 3 things: shows such as Devon and the Hampton Classic. As far as the long-term viability of those shows, obviously those are steeped in tradition. Devon is such a special place to be at. And so hopefully that this doesn't negatively affect them. And obviously I don't want you to speak to that. That's not, that's not your horse show, but I do hope that those organizers are able to find a way to continue in the future. The other part of this is the grassroots shows, whether you have the C circuit, B circuit, C circuit, whatever it is. There's been a lot of talk about people wanting to, that circuit to build up anyway. And then of course, this here is certainly not a positive for that to happen. And so I think that might be the way the industry is going to be affected in multiple ways, because those shows, are, as you're saying, they're very difficult to run from an economic point of view. I understand what you're saying for this year. But.
The grassroots shows, I don't know. I mean, I like I said, I have experience with the smaller event. That's kind of how I started. That's how I started competing as a 7-year-old on Long Island. I grew up 2 miles from the Hampton Classic. So, you tugged a couple strings on me there. That's my home show. My mother lives literally right down the road from the Hampton Classic. And I agree with you. Those traditional events, it would be a shame to see those go. But I can speak a little bit to that because EEI, who is the owner and organizer of the Kentucky 3-day Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event here in April, which had to cancel, they've hired me to produce the show jumping portion of that, the Kentucky Invitational, and we had to cancel that. And I know it was, and they're a 501c3, just like a lot of these other events like Devon, the Hampton Classic, and stuff like that. So,
okay.
They had a rainy day fund. I think it was really traumatic and really difficult to make the decision to cancel that. Obviously, they had to. It was in April, right in the middle of everything. But it just makes you reorganize, of how you're going to move forward, and makes you budget things a little differently. And maybe in the future, next year and the year after, it's going to take some time to build back up. But if the organizers of that company, like EEI, has been diligent in not necessarily planning for something like this, but they've been planning for that rainy day, so that set them up to hopefully continue to succeed in the future. I can't speak towards these other events, but I know an event like that can be an example of pushing through this time, and hopefully that it continues for years and years and years. The grassroots shows, yeah, I think grassroots shows can still happen. I understand the fear behind it and the responsibility behind it, but like you said, grassroots B and C shows, which are rated, that I think is fantastic. I'm not a huge, even though my show started as unrated so I could get my feet wet, I really believe in going through the process with USCF at some level. Even these smaller events, I think it's possible for them to run.
Great. Okay,
they
great.
just have to.
Yeah.
I just think that it might take a little bit, more effort than those small events usually do, and they're just going to have to be extra responsible. I know riders and lower level riders might be frustrated that there may not be as many of them around, but those are the responsibility of those organizers to do their part and say, I'm going to keep holding my shows. If I'm allowed, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. That's the same philosophy we're taking, and all the other managers that are going to start are going to take. And it's going to be on their responsibility also to keep pushing forward, because they obviously started it for a reason. And I think more than ever, they started right now is a good reason to continue on, because they're definitely needed as well, for sure.
How is Split Rock going to help define the future of the horse show world in North America? You as a show organizer, you mentioned your app. I'd like you to bring that up again. I think we had a little audio glitch at that moment, so I'd like you to talk briefly about the app. And what is your vision for the Split Rock tour 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
I don't know that my shows are revolutionizing necessarily anything. I like to think that my team and myself are trying to always think towards the future. So although we're focused on what's happening this year and preparing everything, like my brain always goes to 5-10 years from now and what this is going to be like. From the beginning, I always was content with if I added one show a year, within that range, one, maybe two, maybe one the next year, two. I've been very strict on keeping my formula exactly my formula till now. I do foresee us, because we've been prepared and we've been ready to handle the quantity that we handle, just jumpers, no hunters. Maybe in the future we might dabble in a little bit of a bigger horse show if the right opportunity arises. But I still continue to think that, and maybe people out there, I know I've always said it before, that I wasn't going to have like hunters or something, but I'm sure at some point down the pike, people will get to experience a Split Rock Jumping Tour hunter event. Hopefully not too far away. And yeah, just keep growing at a pace that we can still provide the product that we're known to provide. And I don't want to grow beyond. I've had the opportunity to. I've had lots of opportunities. I've probably visited 150 more plus facilities around America that have wanted us to do events for them. And for me, I've just been really strategic in who my partners are, and who the people are that support us, and what kind of events we produce. Like I said, EEI at the Land Rover 3DA event couldn't have been a more incredible partner. We just are producing an incredible event in December this fall at the Will Rogers Coliseum in downtown Fort Worth. Good friends of mine, Aaron and Christian Heineking, are helping us produce those events in Texas. And same thing with Guy McIlvain and those guys at Santa Fe. I mean, we really want to help them grow their markets in that area, because we have such a big following and such a big social and presence and viewership, that if we bring a show to that facility, and we can help grow their other events that they have there and bring more awareness to the area. So that's part of our goal. So the future, I think, is going to continue on just like it has. We're going to continue growing as long as we can handle it. We're going to continue adding a show or two every year until I don't know when, indefinitely. And hopefully we really want to, my main goal is to provide this experience for everybody, and everybody can access it. So hopefully we can hit the markets that really haven't been hit yet. I don't want to have a show, and I mean, maybe I could one day, but it wouldn't really make sense for me to have a show in Wellington, Florida right now, when there's already something great there. Or, we want to hit areas that really something like this would be in demand, is really needed. And hopefully we can continue to grow that. But that's the first time you've heard me ever say that there might be a Hunter Split Rock somewhere in the future.
There we go. Groundbreaking news right here on the Jay Duke Show. The app. It looks really interesting as far as how it's going to change an exhibitor's experience at the horse shows. Can you talk a little bit about what the name of the app is, and how that is going to change and make horse shows a lot better for everybody?
I like to think that nobody can do the app like we did it, but you never know. Copying sometimes is the best form of flattery. I've put so much headspace into developing this app over the past 2 years, and I found the perfect partner in Equestre Digital. They're from Mexico. They handle a lot of the events down there in Mexico, and they produce such an amazing product that they really took the time to help me sit down, because I definitely have my own the name of the app is Split Rock Jumping Tour. So you can just go onto the App Store for iOS and Android and download Split Rock Jumping Tour application. And even just spectators at home can go on and follow everything that's going through the event live in real time. And the experience just totally changes your horse show experience. And that was my intention from it, to make the whole experience more organized, detailed, and efficient for everybody, not only my staff, but the riders as well. So for instance, basically the app and any given class or any given day can do everything that an office person and everything that an in-gate person can do. Although we still have those people there on hand to take care of everybody, in the end, I want people to be able to be self-sufficient, be able to find the information that they need at any given point with a snap of a finger. If you go on our app, you can see even if you go on for our June show this year, you can see literally current lists of classes for the entire week of people that have already started to enter. You can see the full JOG FEI list right now of every rider, every horse, everything that's on there. And then as the show starts, as the classes start, we start feeding in the live feed. So you can watch the full live feed there. You can, the night before when you have the order to go, which I'm so specific about. I hate it when horse shows don't load the orders of goes till the end of the night or first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. No, if the office closes at 5 p.m., those orders of go are up at 5 p.m. And these are what people I think expect nowadays from a real horse show. Mm-hmm. People are paying so much money to travel all around the country, or even if it's just down the road. Horse showing is expensive no matter where you go. That's our sport. That's not going to change. And I just want to provide a product where people feel like, you know what, it's just like any other horse show. I paid X amount of dollars, but man, they really went out of their way to make my experience worthwhile. And I can tell that they've invested my money in something that I can use and I can use productively and helps me be more efficient in my horse showing process. So that's really my goal. We even the night before upload all the courses to every live order to go has the course map the night before of every round the following day. So people can literally, while they're walking the course, even they can go on the app, they can zoom in on the app, they don't have to write down the jump off. They can see everything. They can see whether they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out in the order, 20 out in the order, where they are in the live results. Basically it just saves a lot of questions, all things that intuitively should have been done already. Somehow they haven't been productively. And we've put a lot of time and effort. It just doesn't just happen overnight. We're always brainstorming. It's funny, my staff and I, we like once a week we get together as a group and we're like, what new ideas do we have? It's not all coming from my brain. They do a great job as well with all of these different ideas that just make everybody happier and make a more pleasant horse show.
Congratulations on launching that. I've heard this idea of being done by probably 200 different people. People have been talking about it for years and years. Oh, wouldn't it be good if we had this or if we could do that? And there's been a lot of talk. And of course, no one's done it. And here we go. Derek Braun of Split Rock Jumping Tour has stepped up and got the job done. So I hope it will be super successful. And
if people go, if they go and download the app now, they could go to previous shows or the archive. And they can click on, let's say, the World Cup qualifier from Ohio, or they can click on any of the Grand Prix or even the .85 class. Everything is on there. And the interesting thing about it is they're on there for the life of the app. So all the results, all the video clips, the full class videos, everything. Jay, if your daughter competed at my event in 2017, she knows what class she was in. She could go right back to it, click the play video and watch her video anytime.
Wow.
So I think that these are just things that are a given out of a horse show. I cannot stand being at a horse show. I know it's maybe good business practice to go on and say, I'm going to charge you $15 for this video, or I'm going to charge you, to me, these people are paying enough to be at this event. These are things that are just my responsibility, and inherently they need to be provided and given to riders free of charge. One of the future things that, we have such amazing sponsors at our event that have been with us for so long. And they see my vision in taking a certain aspect and then latching onto it. For instance, hopefully in the future, we have somebody to sponsor, let's say the entire horse show's worth of photos. I want to be able to give the riders their photos. I want people to have to go and, you know what I mean? Like for me, it's good for everybody. That photographers may hate me for saying that. Maybe not the photographer that's hired to do it, but you know what I mean? Like these are things that people come and spend so much money at all horse shows. It's not just mine. And they really need to get what they pay for. And that's what our event's all about. I want to make sure that they have everything to have a good experience, whether it be their videos on demand, you know, live streaming so their grandparents can watch them at home in whatever division they're doing, sitting on their couch. You know, these things are so important. You can't just live stream the Grand Prix. You know, there's so many other people that want to watch the rest of the event as well.
And bringing the show to the public, and that's such an important aspect that you're doing. I know my daughter will definitely be at some of your horse shows in 2021. She's very excited to do that. We need to wrap it up. Derek, thank you so much for joining us. Amazing information.
Thanks for having me.
You've been a great guest, and I hope to talk to you soon in the future. Join me next Monday on the Jay Duke Show when I discuss the challenges of family dynamics on the show circuit with top hunter rider and USEF judge Hope Glenn and her talented daughter and rising star Avery Glenn, who will share their experiences and stories of being a high-profile mother-daughter duo on the American show circuit. On May 27th, the Rider Fix-It Show with Laura Kellen May has special guest Ann Thal, and on May 29th, Chance Arkelian joins Jumping Instructors Live with Randy Thompson. Thank you for watching the show, and remember, ride safely and always respect the horse.